So I read some comments in response to the video I made about Natalia Silva. And there was a couple comments that thought I was a little too critical of Natalia Silva's performance. But you decide, because I can't help how I felt during the fight. During the fight, as I watched, I felt worried. I was nervous for Silva. Even though she was fast, she kept leaving herself open for a left hook. And if you watch the fight, you see the timestamp here, round 3, with 56 seconds left. She took this shot to the face flush. It wasn't partially blocked. She wasn't leaning back as she took it. She didn't take the sting off of it or nothing. She took that shot flush. And you can see she's wide open for it. Almost leaning into it. Now, I point this out. I know it happened in the third round, but I point this out because this is what was making me uncomfortable the whole fight, starting in the very first round. Like I said in the previous video, she kept moving into Andrade's left hook. Another thing is Silva is kind of high risk. Sometimes she likes to lean back. Rather than keep her hands up, I notice a lot of times she just likes to lean back to avoid strikes. And it works. It's very effective. The thing is, you do leave yourself open to be clocked. Really, all I have to do is take an extra step forward. You remember the famous knockdown of Ali was when he was leaning backwards. And Ali had a mean lean. He still got clocked. I believe it was Joe Frazier that knocked him down. Caught him clean as he was leaning back. Well, with Silva, she hasn't been caught leaning back, but I didn't like her movement in this fight. I firmly believe that she is one fighter, talking about Natalia Silva, who could have stood in one spot and Andrade wouldn't have been able to do nothing to her. I believe Silva could have went out there and stood right in the center of the cage in one spot all night. And there was nothing Andrade was going to be able to do. But what I wanted to see more from her was her going forward, holding her ground. Some people don't think it's that important to stand your ground, but understand, when you're moving away the whole fight, you leave yourself open for certain strikes when you start moving away. When you're moving away the whole fight or most of the fight. Not only that, all that moving wears you out. It makes you tired. It requires energy. So why waste energy if you don't have to? And I just believe that somebody with her skill set should have spent far more time forcing Andrade to go back. There were spots in this fight when she did. I'm sure y'all saw it. Especially starting in the second round, I think it was. The early part of the second round, Silva went into the middle of the cage and basically stood there. There were moments she would move forward, and Andrade had no answers. Andrade was primarily moving forward because Silva was moving backwards. Now, when she got hit with this punch here, She was using a passive style. She's backing up to the cage, and I'm just saying, when you're up against the cage, you're always vulnerable. You're always there to get hit. No matter how good your foot movement is, and the whole point of having good foot movement is so you don't end up on the cage, against the cage. It's primarily to keep the fight in the center of the cage. That's what foot movement's for. And I was just uncomfortable. I can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, I was a little... Because I went back and watched the fight twice. Well, so I watched it 3 times total already. And, I can't lie. As I watched it, I was nervous. And I was complaining the whole fight, like, stop it. Stop moving away from Andrade. Look, I know Andrade's a veteran and all this kind of stuff. But Andrade was heavily outmatched in this fight. Heavily. But the style Silva used gave Andrade the greatest chance to be successful. Now that's credit to Silva. Because Andrade, Silva was playing into Andrade's strengths. Andrade's strength is not her grappling, ground game. Her strength is primarily what you see right now. I know she used to slam fighters, but she's not slamming no Silva. That's another reason why I feel like Silva could have afforded to stand her ground. You heard Rose's team train her to stand her ground more against Andrade. Again, because it's important. I'm not the only one who says this. When you fight Andrade, you can't just move away the whole fight. You have to get her to go back herself. And go watch her fights. When Andrade is going backwards, she's lost. You take a higher fight IQ to fight going backwards, to fight on the back foot. Silva can do that. Andrade can't. So go back and watch Jessica Andrade fight Erin Blanchfield. I went back and watched that fight again as well. Time to time, Erin would move sideways. But you're going to notice Erin was coming forward 95% of the time. And are we saying that Erin, as a striker, is on par with Silva? I don't know about that. As a striker, I don't know about that. But Erin had a lot of success. I think because she was standing her ground more and pushing Andrade back. So that's all I'm saying. When I look at Silva, when I watch it, at least in that performance, I notice a lot of times she expends too much energy moving. Not just moving. She seems tense when she fights. She looks like she fights tense. I think somebody mentioned it in the comment. I think it was the King Raheem. He said Silva should have used body kicks against Andrade. I only watched the last 2 rounds, but I think she could benefit from kicking Andrade's pudgy gut. Maybe even no. Okay, so it wasn't King Raheem who said it. Who said that? Who said that? Right here. Astro Boy 1207 says Silva needs to learn to not exert so much energy, and she has to stay off the cage because she could have got the finish way earlier in the fight. Silva looks tense. She looks tense. She don't look relaxed in there. That always make me uncomfortable. No matter who it is. No matter who it is. When I see a fighter who fight tense, just burning up energy, and they're not even doing it, just throwing feints, relax. Go look at how relaxed Andrade. Andrade was way more relaxed than Silva. Aaron, all of them. They're more. Silva is the least relaxed fighter of the whole bunch, it seems. Now, look, maybe it'll never backfire against her. But she didn't look as fresh in the third as she did in the first against Andrade. And she was catching some shots. She was catching shots from Andrade. So, we'll see. Time will tell if Silva is the next champion, next long range, next big thing. Time will tell whether or not she has holes. Because it looks like somebody said, well, it hasn't backfired against her. Who said that? They said, yeah, Silva may have moved back. She may have been moving away, but it hasn't worked against her yet. Yes, it did. That could have been the end of the fight right there. You getting hit by Andrade, a flush shot. Now Silva got a chin, which is, good. All I'm saying is, I would have had her moving around the cage a lot different. And, use that speed she has to avoid shots like this. That's all I'm saying. Because I believe Andrade felt outmatched. She didn't want to go tit for tat with Silva. I don't think Andrade really wanted Silva to stand in front of her and go strike for strike with her. I don't think Andrade felt like she was that good enough to just strike toe-to-toe with Silva. I don't believe Andrade believed that. I believe Andrade felt like her best chance to win this fight is to do what she was doing. Make Silva go back, move away, and every now and then catch Silva with something. Look like the fighter who's landing the harder shots, inflicting more damage. Andrade is kind of going after the damage credit. Right? She's going after damage credit. That was her best chance to win this fight, I believe. But it had to involve Silva participating. She needed Silva to move away from her a lot and to not want to engage. She needed Silva to spend a lot of time avoiding engagement and hopefully get the nod by the judges on the scorecard because of her forward pressure and so forth. So Silva played into that, but thing is, she's so skilled, Silva's so fast and physically strong that she was able to beat Andrade despite Andrade being in her comfort zone. So, interesting fighter, Natalia Silva. I like watching her fight. And we'll see if she can improve going forward.